What's up, guys? This video is going to be about what is the worst part on this bike, the TBR7. And I've changed just a few things. Most evidently, the forks. I believe that's the most evident thing when I stand back here. I don't know. That's what I see when I look through the camera lens here. I know the answer, but I'm going to talk through some of the bad parts on it. And that's just being honest. There are some bad parts on it that need to be changed. And the worst one, which I know the answer, and I'll tell you in the end, but I'm going to talk through all the bad parts. The worst part needs to be changed the first day. And I mean, you might as well not even start it. What's your guess, guys? What's the worst part on this? And I mean, it needs changed before you even start it. And that's just in my opinion. Okay, so let's talk about, and this isn't definitely not a negative review here. This is just talking about the bad things about the bike that need to be changed at least at some point or instantly. So the front forks, they are pretty bad. I'll show them to you. They're just back here. I just pulled them off. So when I do that, it's basically feels like the compression of it is like worse than a shock on a car, like the cheapest shock on a car. And I know cars are heavy, but has like better resistance than this. And I put brand new oil in this, and I mildly overfilled it so it would stop sooner and not bottom out. And that's actually one of the secrets of these shocks, is that if you just overfill them a little bit, at least they won't bottom out. They won't have as much travel, but I don't want travel at the end of a shock that bottoms out. That's not considered travel to me. That's considered bottoming out. And the first day I rode this, there's a small ditch down here, and it's just like where water, see, I live on a little country roads here in the mountains. So down over here where they do, down over yonder over there in the holler, basically, let me put this down. I was just riding like, I don't know, 25 miles an hour down the dirt roads here. And where the water runs through down the hill, it just creates just a little dip. I mean, it might only be that, like that, for real. It's not 6 inches. That would be deep. It's just a few inches. So I said to myself as I was coming up on it, I'm just going to kind of gas it and act like I would do on like a mountain bike or something, and kind of pull up my front tire through it and just let the suspension do the work. You know, I didn't sit down and just like slam into it with my front fork. I kind of picked up a little bit and stood up and sprung the weight up. You know how you can kind of spring a bike up? You squish it a little and it comes back up. And the fork bottomed out. I was like, and that was after I changed the fork oil instantly. So then what I did was I put more fork oil in. I literally filled it to the top. And I know everyone's going to laugh at me, but I don't really care. This is what I did. I filled it to the top, and I said, there should be no squish at all. Literally, there's full liquid. It should have no suspension. And it did. It had none. I pushed down. It was a rock. So then all I did was drain just a tiny bit out of each until I got what I wanted. And it only took one time each. Literally, I drained about, I don't know, it was like 1/8 of a cup or so out of each side. And it gave me what you saw, which is just like, it's the same spring down, but it wouldn't bottom out. So that's fine. So that's where that ended up, those forks. So yeah, that's pretty bad, but it's not the worst part. So let's keep thinking about what's a bad part on here. These rear pegs are pretty bad, actually. I know it sounds funny to say. I painted this black here just because I don't like it. Had like a chrome thing pointing back. But they're just really crappy. Just being honest, they're like, do you see that where they're not? It's like stamped, clamped, twisted crap. And I don't know how sturdy they are. Of course they'll hold up for a ride, 5 rides, 10 rides, I don't know. Pardon me, guys. It's early in the morning here. I always want my coffee and make a video. So, like this is, I suppose you would say someone's life, though, riding on these. And the steel here is at least probably 3 or 4 times the thickness of this, like this crap here. Let me see if I can, like, look up in it. Yeah, look, see? See that? Hold on. It won't focus. There we go. I mean, it's crap. So there you go. I think that's crap. Someone's life is riding on that. It doesn't seem like it would fall off, but do you ever want to take the chance? And I think that's a bad, it's super cheap, obviously. Let me see. And now that I look at it, looks like that one's straight and that one's a little crooked. So this bar is bent. Whatever. All right. So is that the worst part though on the bike? No. All right. The rear shock, to tell you the truth, as far as I could tell, is good. I like it. And it's adjustable. I won't even talk about if it's bad. People have said that bolt, someone said the rear bearing gave out on them after 300 miles. And I'm thinking the rear bushing, maybe? I don't know if they call that a strut bearing or a, right here, where usually that's a bushing, but I don't know if they call it a bearing. Some people call it whatever they want, I guess. But he said after 300 miles that went out. It's just kind of flopping around. So I don't know if that's bad. The tires are good. Rear swing arm setup. I would call it acceptable. It's cheesy, but like this is just kind of a like purpose bike. You're getting this for a purpose. That's funny. I didn't pop that plastic back in properly. Oh, that's one thing that's not cool. I'll mention that is that rubber O-ring they just suck. They're terrible. Maybe it's because these are sharp. I just felt it now. Maybe it's so sharp, like all the parts, like even the plastic is sharp right here on my finger. I don't want to touch it. But yeah, I see when I put that back on, I messed up. Only got the front end and the back not in. There's no rubber though. It blew out like right away because you're accessing these at least a few times while you're doing like what you would call even light mods. Just taking that off to work on anything for a few times and you're blowing out your rubber. So that's kind of crappy. Not the worst part though. Let's see. People talk trash about this. I didn't get mine set level enough. You're supposed to have it kind of set to where your foot is calm. You know what I mean? You don't want your foot all lifted up like that. I did not adjust this yet. I'm taking my time. This is actually feels really good when you take your time like this. I've just been putting around the neighborhood. I've put 40, I think I'm at 40 miles just around the neighborhood in the dirt roads here. I haven't even hit the highway, just putting. That's not the worst part though. The engine, it's not counterbalanced. It's not high horsepower. It's not really that quiet, and it does shake. Is it the worst part? No. The oil that's in it, is that the worst part? That does need to be changed the first day, guys. I don't know what anyone else says, and I don't really care. I'll be honest, what anyone else says, because this is about me, right? Like see, I don't want to sound selfish, but this is my experience, and I'm sharing it with you, and you learn off of me. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. It's just like sharing. And for me, it makes no sense to run their oil. And I'll tell you why. And nobody's talked about this yet. But the first day I got this, it actually says in the manual to warm up the motor and drain it. It says that. It says do not run this engine on that oil. Moto Cheese said that he knows the manufacturer. He's somehow sponsored or something, but it's not good oil. I don't care what he says. And here's my proof. I rode this around. I started it up, got it warm with the stock carb. This is not stock. This is like the first day I got it, because it says to warm it up and drain it. So I started it up, rode it to my neighbor's, which is right there. It's literally that house right there. I'm serious. That house. Actually, the little cabin there my buddy lives in. So I rode it there, showed it to him. It was idling a little bit off. It idled a little off. But like, I'll say that like it felt just a little rattly to me. Like when I rode it, like it just felt, I'm like, oh, I get what they're saying, that it's not counterbalanced. Awesome, I'm doing a video. So it's not counterbalanced, all right? And I was like, I felt it. Okay. So I got back, I drained the oil, I put in brand new oil and a little zinc additive for break-in, and it ran legitimately way smoother. Like the rattle was gone. And the other reason why I know this is because someone gave me a Tao 125 quad like a few years ago, and it ran like this did the first time with that oil. I didn't know it probably had shipping oil in it, and it like was rattly. It was probably a non-counterbalanced engine, and it was rattly, and the oil was probably the shipping oil that was still in it. And this one does not. I swear it's so much smoother with good oil, and I think maybe you might mess it up by running it on that oil. They say to change it, dude. It's called shipping oil. Do your research. Shipping oil is a the lowest grade oil ever, and it's generally what they started the engine on, and to because they're going to throw it away, because little chips come off the perfectly machined engines when they run for the first time. There's little pieces of metal come off it, and then you want to drain that, and that's what the shipping oil is. It's only been ran like for a little bit. All right, so no, the engine is not the worst part, and neither is the oil, even though you got to change it. All this stuff up here is decent. These things people say not to, they say to keep, or I mean to change, but all you got to do is tighten it. I don't know if they ever tried really tightening the screw back here. There's a screw right there. Why won't it frickin', well, you just get that screw. I might say, you see that light's out of there? I might say that's the worst part, and I'll do another video on that little side light. This is an aftermarket. That little side light might be the worst part, to be honest with you. I didn't think about that, but there's another video on that. I changed this, but I'm going to change it back. This is too short. The stock one's better. It's a little further out there, and the one I got has a spring in it. A lot of them are welded. They put a spring on them now, so I'm going to put that back on. I'm just going to go ahead and get to it. It's been 15 minutes. The worst part on this bike is the carburetor, and that is not it right now. That's a Mikuni clone or whatever, but the worst part is the carburetor. And the reason why is because think about it. They're trying to ship this to 50 states or 48 states or whatever and have it run well when all states have different conditions, different elevations and all that. So they can't actually ship a good bike. And then they get better regulations. That's why they probably made it 229 cc's, is because it's probably a different class of regulations. It can't be a 250, you know, it can't probably even be a 230. They get better, like, import whatever's on their, you know, the that it's more efficient. And that's why there's a cat in here and all that other, and this air thing right here, whatever that is. So the carburetor is the worst part. And the reason why, when I got it, dude, this idle adjustment did nothing on mine. Literally nothing. And the idle mixture did nothing too. And you can't even get to it until you drill it out. And the fact that you can't even get to the bolts, they're not even screws. So I know you can modify them and stuff, but that is the worst part on the bike. You might as well just buy a carb right away and a jet kit. Save yourself some time. I'm not kidding. Buy yourself a jet kit and do some research in your area about your elevation and what other people have put on it, literally, because you'll find enough. Like, mine came with an 88 main jet. Most people run a 105. This has a 95, and it runs great because I'm at 8,000 feet. That's where I live, guys. That's where I ride, is 8,000 feet, and I live here. So I'm 8,000 feet above you guys. So jet is a 95. It came with an 88, and then actually the idle is a 35, and it came with a 36. So it went 1 down on the idle and 7 up. So seriously, do yourself a favor. I'm not kidding, and buy a carb right away before you even start the thing, and put a carb on it and get it tuned to what you want. Like, if you were going to put pipe on it and a carb, just do it right away, because like, it has to all happen at once. Because if you change this, then you need to change the air and this and that. It all needs to be, it's like a trifecta or something, if you get what I'm saying. You have the carb, you have the exhaust, and you have the intake, because this all matters. The size of your air filter, the size of your carb and the fuel coming in, and the amount of exhaust coming out. So you have to know that, and you can't, if you change it, it's just all going to change at once. You're going to screw it all up. So, all right. The worst part on this is the carburetor, and you need to buy yourself a new one right away. TBR7 Chronicles out.